Well, hello, model car fans. Welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Revell, and here I am. I'm getting started on these Oldsmobile 71 442 and the 72 Pace Car kit, and pretty excited about doing this one, and I want to do this one as well. So, just getting kind of started and playing around with them. And I was, after doing the kit comparison and really looking over the kits and getting excited about getting these done. So, I had my primer out and I was doing a couple of projects. So I did the body work on both of these a little bit, just got rid of the molded in lines and sprayed some primer on it and was going on that. And I had a couple areas where I did some more sanding on this and a little bit more primer. This one just has the initial coat of primer on it, and that's about it. So while I had the parts out, I'm gonna pin these mirrors and getting them ready for paint. But decided since they're the same but different, and that the kit comes with options, I was gonna do them. Of course, all of the pace cars, all of the 72 Hurst Olds were automatics, so I made sure to get the automatic tranny ready, and I did a lot of the pre-assembly. So the tranny is assembled. I did assemble the motor, and I painted the motor blue, Olds engine blue. And this is pretty much ready. I'm going to do another coat on it because there's just a few areas that it's a little thin on the intake manifold. But the camera's not picking it up, so it's really not a big deal. And once it's under the hood, you wouldn't see it. But I'm going to shoot one more layer on it. But also the W30, I got its motor ready too. But the big difference between the two motors is on this one, the Oldsmobile is the iron intake and it's blue, where the W30 has the aluminum intake and it's, of course, raw aluminum. So, and I understand a few of those were W30 specs, but not many of them. But of course, this one being the W30, it's going to have the aluminum intake. So that's the difference between the two motors. And then also, this 442 is getting the manual transmission, since you could get the manual in the 442, but Hurst did not do that to theirs. Every one of those was an automatic. So got the manual tranny ready for this one. So building with the different options here. And, of course, the pre-assembly, got the 71 seats ready. And they look good, went together really well. And, of course, I had to do a set of the 72 seats. Got them shot. Of course, I did shoot a lot of the semi-gloss black stuff. This one, the entire interior is going to be semi-gloss black. This one, I haven't decided on the color combo yet. So it's sitting here, and I don't know what I'm going to do yet, and I don't know what I feel like doing yet. So it's just, it's going to go as it goes. And, of course, there's that. And same thing, here's the two consoles, the automatic versus the manual console. So, and the consoles are black, the carpets are black. This one, I think I'm going to do the white interior, but I keep looking at that box art, and I like that green, but I really want to do it with black stripes. So I'm kind of still torn in the colors there, but there's those two. Of course, when I shot the primer, I got primer on the underside here and on this, because I'm going to go for the, off the assembly line look. So I'm going to shoot this with white and have the gray primer on the inside and do the overspray method and black out the frame and everything, because the detail on this is really nice. So it's really easy to do that. So I did that and just shot the primer on the underside of this one and got it ready to do that. And I was doing the same thing to this one. So I shot it, and I shot the red inner fenders. But when I shot the red inner fenders, which the 442 would have, but the 72 would not, I didn't think to mask off and prime this area because of the overspray, or whatever color I'm going to do the overspray on it too. So I got to go in there and reshoot the primer on this and not get it on the inner fenders. So a little oversight on my side, not a big deal, but same thing, shot the chassis, it's all primed. All of this is black, so I didn't bother shooting the front half of it in primer. But just having some fun with it and just going for detail. I'm not going to go crazy on it. I'm just going to build this box stock right out of the kit with just some nice detailing. The only exception I did do is it's got the plain black tires, and of course I have the Firestone white oval printed ones that came with the 69 Chevelle SS kit, and I used red lines on that because it's really what it should have, but I kept these. And then when I ended up building that kit, I turned it into a Yanko and put the Goodyears on it instead of those. So I did change that. One other difference in the two kits is the rear ends. So here's one of the rear ends. This is the standard 12 bolt rear end that Oldsmobile came with, and this would be correct for all 72s. So, and technically correct for all 70 and 71s also, but not the performance option. The other rear end, which is right here, this is the W27 rear end. Now, I was doing a lot more reading specifically on this rear end. I thought initially that one was lowered and one isn't. Basically, there's just a couple of extra ribs on the bottom of this one that aren't on this one. But when reading about these W27 aluminum rear ends, they were only offered in 70 and 71, but mostly 70. So in 70, the entire center section was aluminum and had the extra ribs, is from what I'm understanding, and had this aluminum cover. So the whole center of this should be aluminum for a 1970 with this rear end. Now I understand there's only really like a few hundred of these that came out in 1970. I forget what the number is right now, but it was in the hundreds. And in 71 it was also available, but in 71 it wasn't the entire pumpkin. It was just the aluminum cover. So the aluminum cover was put on some 71s. And I think I read somewhere there was only like 150 71s actually got it. So extremely rare for 71s. So I'm going to paint just the cover on this one aluminum and leave the rest of that black. But I left I used the one with the ribs, not knowing much about it. But I was also realizing when it comes to this kit, to make it a 70, there's not much Revell actually needs to do at this point. It just needs a new hood, new front bumper and rear bumper and taillights, and that's it for the body. You've got both the convertible and the hardtop, and then it just needs whatever updates or changes are in the interior for a 70 versus a 71 or 72. I didn't really look into all of the details on what's different between that. I did notice that the Johan 70 interior looks a lot like the 71 interior, but I didn't really go into detail on what is actually correct. But I did fit the spoiler on there. It's looking really good. It's just, it's not glued as far as going to the body, but I did glue the uprights to this and fit it, and it's ready for paint. So this is going to get painted separately and then glued on later, but it's there for mock-up and looks pretty good. Looks kind of awkward from the top, looks a little far forward, but when I look at my reference photos and stuff, it does look right. So I like that, and I'm enjoying this. And then of course love the W25 hood, and I actually need to get one more of these because I was realizing going through my plans that I've got one flat hood and I need one of these. So I may start looking for somebody who wants to trade me a flat hood for this hood, and I'll get the mirrors pinned and painted. But I still don't have an idea or clear vision on what color I'm going to go with on that. But this one, the Camino White, is coming. I did order from Scale Finishes in my order. Prime the convertible top. It's molded in white. The top's going to be white, but they look better in an off-white. So I'm going to shoot this with a different creamier white that I have laying around somewhere. And the convertible boots should be black. And the box art, it's white, but in the real car, these are black. I've got pretty straightforward builds to build these two, and it should go fairly well as long as I don't have any issues. I don't anticipate any issues with either one of these, other than, mistakes that, something simple like this that I could have easily masked this off and painted the red, but didn't really think too much about it, because, when I did this, I'm like, oh, all the carpet's got to be black, but the seats got to be white. This has got to be black if I want to have the white seats. So I was just thinking about the top side of this, but I'm like, oh, this has to be black. But on a lot of chassis, I would black out the entire chassis, and I thought about doing that on this, but I'm like, I'll make it a bit more of the over-restored with the primer and the overspray and the detail-outed frame on it, which, unlike the 69 Chevelle, the frame is molded to the chassis, but on Revell's 69 Chevelle, it's a separate part, and it makes it so much easier to detail that way. But these are going to go pretty well. Paint the trannies, start painting the rest of the motors, some of the other stuff, and then really pick the colors for this one. This one I know exactly what I'm doing. I think it's going to have the plain tires like this. I haven't decided on the tires yet if I'm going to letter them or not. I'll look at more of the pace cars and see what was going on there. You knew these were going to get started, so I'm just showing them both to you in kind of the beginning stages as I prep them and get them ready. Like this one, my airbrush decided to spit some on here, and it was gumming up a little bit, so it's like, all right. The paint was a little thick, and the airbrush was having a little bit of trouble with it. So, and I've got to, the primer shows me some of the areas that I need to sand, some of the mold lines, where the mold lines are, you can see them more on the side here and here than up top, because I sanded them on the top, but I didn't sand on the sides. And that kind of caught me a little bit of surprise, but I'll get those sanded and scuffed, but made sure the trunk was flat because the indentions for the spoiler, they did show a little bit. So I pre-sanded some of that stuff and got it ready. So these are, getting their turn in the barrel here. There'll be some updates on them as I jump around from all the different kits that I am building and getting started here. So thank you for subscribing and all your comments and all your likes and everything else. I really do appreciate it. And you guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next Saturday.